Hello and welcome. It is Friday. I hope it is treating you well. I am got kind of a sore throat today, so I'm going to plow through this video and hopefully we could do well before my throat gives out completely, but we'll get there. Today we are talking about one of my favorite subjects, and that is movies, but not exactly movies, but the underlying studios that are fighting it out in the media right now. I like watching movies. I'm an avid consumer of TV, so I do have a lot to say on that subject. I'm going to try not to get too far off the rails with all the shows, but we're going to go into what the studios are doing. We kind of alluded to it on Monday, and of course, go into some of the financial ramifications of the stocks themselves. But this is what we are going to do today. So here we go. First, of course, look at our portfolio, and it is not too much change from Monday, as you know, you might expect. Markets are doing relatively well. The Fed's cut the rates a quarter point, so hey, we're going on to that subject in a later video, talking about how that's going to affect the housing market. So what we're talking about today is Warner Brothers. Yay. So Warner Brothers decided that they are going to sell to Netflix. Now there's a bidding with Comcast and Paramount and Netflix, and it seems like they chose Netflix, but Paramount doesn't feel that that was within good faith. So they recently came out with a hostile bid. So they are bidding $108 billion to buy Warner Bros. Outright. So that's $30 a share, and I believe Netflix was giving $27 a share. So that's they're trying to overbid them. Now, what that means is there's a couple different ways that you could look at this. There's, left-wing, right-wing leaning way. But if you look at the facts, you got Paramount, who is one of the leading studios. There's 5 of the biggest studios in Hollywood, but then there's also the streaming part of it. Now, you got to look at both of them. So if we look at who owns both these studios, we got Comcast, we got Walt Disney, we got Warner Brothers, Sony, Paramount. So these are the 5 studios that make the most movies. There are others, there's smaller studios and indie studios, but these are the big 5. Now you could say Apple's in there somewhere, but I think they're more into the streaming. So if you look at the streaming, Netflix is one of the biggest ones. Amazon Prime, you got Disney Plus, Walt Disney, of course, is in there. HBO Max, which is Warner Brothers, YouTube. I don't count YouTube in this yet because it's not, when studios make TV shows and movies, they don't really bring it to YouTube for distribution, right? They bring it to one of the 5. And curiosity, Apple's not in this. I don't know why they keep getting snubbed, because they do make pretty good content. But for some reason, Apple is never in these lists. So when you're looking at how this is going, you got Netflix and Warner Brothers going into a deal for about $72 billion. The great thing about this is Netflix will get the studios, and Warner Brothers are supposed to divest their linear TV out of that, the CBS or the CNN and the channels that go on cable broadcast. And Netflix would keep HBO streaming, which is what they really want, and the studio for making movies. So Paramount, on the other hand, wants to buy the entire thing. And that's their take on it, is we're going to give you a better share price, and we're going to take the entire package. So all the streaming, all the shows, all the TV, you name it, they're going to put it out on theirs. Now, they just merged with Skydance. So you got Paramount Skydance. which went to Congress and they approved it. So when you look at the differences between the two packages, Paramount chose Netflix over, or Warner Brothers chose Netflix over Paramount because they don't feel Paramount was, it's hard to get, because it's going to get political. If you look at where Paramount gets its money, it's owned by David Ellison. So he is the son of Larry Ellison, who owns Oracle, and huge business. I mean, they got billions and billions. So David's trying to make his way out in the world and make his mark in the media sector, which he says he loves movies, he loves TV, he wants to make more content, and he loves doing all the things that, you know, you have to do to make that. Which, okay, I'll have to believe him on that. But one of the biggest problems that I think Warner Brothers and others have is his investment arm. It's about $40 billion backed by his father and Oracle, and a couple investment firms. And one of those is a Saudi Arabia investment firm that Jared Kushner, Donald Trump's son-in-law, works or owns. So there's some conflict of interest there. Do we want Saudi Arabia money to have a controlling interest in a media conglomerate in our country? That's the biggest concern there. The Netflix concern, on the other hand, is do we want Netflix to own the biggest streaming platform and one of the bigger studios that make movies when they're not interested in putting out any movies in the theaters? I mean, the CEO of Netflix came out and stated that theaters are dead. And while I kind of agree with them, I would say they're on life support. They're not dead. People are still going to see movies. And I would even argue that the theater, even though, you know, I built a home theater system in my house and I don't go see a lot of movies anymore in the theater, it's still the best experience. I mean, when you take a $6,000 to $8,000 home theater that you build up over years, which is good, versus a 150,000+ theater, there's no example there. There's no comparison. So theater is still the better of the two options, but you know, if you don't want to go out in the weather, if you don't want to go out with the crowds, you don't want, you know, it's a lot easier to watch a movie in your house or a TV show where you could pause it, go to the bathroom, get something to eat, do whatever you need to do. You can't really do that in the theater. So there's some trade-offs. So the Hollywood elites are scared of Netflix getting Warner Brothers, and the media and government and other entities are scared of Paramount getting Warner Brothers. So there's kind of like a no-win situation here. Either way, one of these studios is going to be the biggest studio in whatever sector. One is the movies, and the other one is the, you know, TV shows and really the linear TV. So that gets us to one other problem with Paramount is if they get that, they already have CBS. So CBS News, CBS TV, and all that stuff. Warner Brothers comes with CNN, which Netflix has no interest in. But that would give Paramount two of the bigger news outlets. And they could start to, if they wanted to, curate the news to their, now, he came out and said that they want to tell the truth in the news and bring the news back to, you know, the levels that they were in the Cronkite years where you trusted the news. Sure. But the question is, if Saudi money's in it and they have a vested interest in getting their money out, do they have any say in what we actually report? So there's one of the biggest questions. Do we want to give a company one of the bigger news sources and news voices in America in order for what? For profit, or are they going to actually separate them out? Now, in the original deal with Netflix, Warner Brother was going to divest part of their company out, which is the linear TV. The studio and streaming services go to Netflix. Warner Brothers will take some of their debt, put it into the linear TV, and then sell that to Comcast or whoever. So one of the problems there really is the Solventum problem. I mean, that's what 3M did, is they divested their interest and their debt and put it into Solventum, sold that out, and they looked better. So Warner Brothers does look better. The problem I have with any of this is looking at what they do. I mean, they're all huge. All of these, in my mind, is an antitrust nightmare. Because if you go to up here for Warner Brothers, I mean, they own a lot of stuff. And you got DC Studios, which Netflix wants. You got Fandango, which they own 25% of. You got all Warner Brothers, New Line Cinema, Castle Rock, and Spyglass, which Netflix definitely wants, but so does Paramount. You got the television studios, which will get all broken up if the Netflix deal goes. And then you got streaming. So you got HBO, HBO Max, Cinemax, and then the TNT stuff. And that's also what Netflix wants. And the question there is, if Netflix gets HBO, they came out and said that they're not going to change anything right away, which means they're going to be changing something within a year or two if this goes down. And how much is Netflix going to go up to include HBO? Like, you just look at Disney Plus when they brought in Hulu, because it went up quite a bit. I mean, it's almost double the price when I signed up originally. Part of that is they've got more material, they've got more stuff that you could watch and content. Part of it is Hulu. That's the same thing that's going to happen here. HBO is going to come in with DC and all of their shows, House of the Dragon, Harry Potter. They're going to make more shows. It's going to skyrocket. Just wait. If you're paying $20 now, it'll probably be $30. And when you look at this, I mean, they're trying to kill all of the cable broadcasting, right? That's when they originated. Their DVDs and rentals and stuff like that. But then they started streaming, and their whole idea was kill cable. Well, they're doing that. It's actually working. But the problem we have now is this is not any better than cable, because all these streaming platforms are starting to get gobbled up into one again, and we'll just have another cable. It's not that much cheaper if you have Disney, Netflix, and let's say Paramount or Peacock or whatever. If you add up all the monthly fees, it's almost as much as you would get with cable. So that is really no longer a factor. So yeah, you get all of Warner Brothers. Then you look at Skydance. And really, what their main idea here was, here's Ellison. So this is when they merged with Skydance. As today marks an exciting and pivotal moment as we prepare to bring Paramount's legacy as a Hollywood institution into the future of entertainment. My vision is to honor exceptional storytelling while modernizing how we make and deliver content, support the world's top creative talent, enhance experiences for audiences worldwide, and create sustainable value for shareholders. Now, I wonder how long they wrote that, how long it took them to write that. and for him to memorize it and spew it out. So it's not bad. I mean, as long as he is true to his word and the Ellison family does what they say and they want to make good movies and they want to bring Hollywood back and they want to bring the theater experience back and they want to bring integrity back to news and cable and do all the same things that they say, that's not bad. But the problem is once you have so many companies merge to become a conglomerate, it's hard to keep those separate. So, I mean, already you see the narrative in news when they have a tagline go through ABC and NBC and CBS and CNN, and they all say the exact same thing. Is it just going to get worse if Paramount buys them? I don't know. But if you follow the logic, it shows that, yeah, it probably over time will start to get worse and worse. And whatever the Ellisons want, or maybe the Saudi Arabians want, that's the narrative that gets put forward. So that's one of the biggest problems with Paramount. And I don't think that I don't think they're going to get it. Which brings me back to a point with Warner Brothers and Netflix. Paramount believes that Warner Brothers did not give them their due, right? They weren't respected in their bidding, and they believe they have the best bid. Therefore, they should get the contract to get the buyout. And Warner Brothers doesn't like the fact that the money is coming from, I guess, sources outside the U.S. That's why David Ellison became, I don't know, irate. He seemed irate that he brought the $108 billion bid to the shareholders and said, you know what, I'm going to completely bypass you guys because you're not giving me any respect. So he's taking it to the shareholders. There'll be some sort of shareholder meeting. They'll take a vote, and we'll see what happens. If the biggest shareholders, he could get a hold of them and get them to sway their vote, then maybe he'll get it. But as of right now, it looks like Warner Brothers is going to go with Netflix. And if that happens, well, if you've got a Netflix subscription, it'll probably be good as far as content, but it will be bad as far as your pocketbook. Now, the question is, will it be as much as if you had Netflix and HBO Max anyway? I don't know. Hopefully it's less than the two combined, the two separate versus two combined. But that's one of the big problems. And if you've got Netflix and Warner Brothers all in one, what do they do with DC, and what do they do with Harry Potter and all those? Do those shows continue? Do they get better? Do they get worse? Netflix is hit or miss lately as far as their movies and TV shows, so we'll see. One thing I like to look at, though, is let's go to the money. So let's see what's happened to these guys. So over the 5 years, Netflix is up. Paramount is down, which makes sense because they were down before Skydance took them over. And Warner Brothers is down, of course, as well. So we really are interested in the year. Oh. So as predicted, like we said Monday, Warner Brothers is up. Because anytime there's buyout rumors, the buyout E will go up. I would say 9 times out of 10. And the buyer goes down. And that's what's happened here. Let's do just the last month. Yep, Netflix is down. Warner Brothers is up 30%. And then Paramount is down over the last month. So we're looking at a buying opportunity. What's Disney look like? And Disney's down, but they've had a bad shake over some failed movies, some failed TV shows. They haven't been looking good anyway, but this may actually start to give them a better look, especially if they go down. I think if Netflix and Warner Brothers goes through, and it's good for them because they're going to have the biggest streaming, I think that's going to hurt Disney. Yeah. I'm pretty sure that the Netflix deal will hurt Disney. Disney will go down. It may bring a buying opportunity for Disney. We'll have to get into their finances at some point to see. Now, if Paramount buys Warner Brothers, I don't think that hurts Disney as much because they're not as big of a streaming force as Netflix is right now. Yeah. What do you guys think? Do you think that's going to do it? Do you think Disney would be a good buying opportunity? Do you think they're going to go down because of the Netflix deal? Yeah, I'm pretty sure. I'm pretty sure Disney is going to get hurt by this. We'll have to see. This, I think, is going to unfortunately play out for a long time. It's going to be months and months before we even get to some sort of deal. This is going to Congress, no matter what. Whether it's Paramount or Netflix, this is going to Congress as an antitrust deal. And there's going to be a lot of going back and forth between them. Trump will probably weigh in on with his opinion. He already has said that he's not friends with either side, so he is trying to make the best decision possible. The problem is the Ellison family is friends with Trump, so we'll see what happens there. I don't know. It's going to be an interesting thing to look at as they fight it out in the courts. And I don't know, maybe Paramount sues because of it. And if they feel like they've been slighted because they are giving the best, quote unquote, best deal possible. And if Warner Brothers doesn't take it, then there's bias there. Of course, there's bias. But, I mean, who's to say that they have to give it to the highest bidder, right? I mean, unless there's like bankruptcy or some sort of court order stating that they're selling their own company. You could sell it to whoever you want, right? So anyway, that is what I am looking at as my voice starts to give out on me here. And I'll be following this story for the next few months just to figure out, because, I like all three of these streaming services. I watch them, and there's a lot of content there that I want to watch, but I don't want to see the DC universe go completely off the rails because of this, and I don't want Warner Brothers to not make the movies that they're making, because they're one of the few that were making decent movies, with Top Gun Maverick and a couple others. So that's just what I think, though. Let me know what you think. put me in the comments, give it in the chat, and let me know. That's pretty much all I have for this stream. I just wanted to kind of get this one off my chest and get it out there, because I think this is, it's an important buyout. All right, so that's it. Go ahead, let me know in the comments, fight it out. Who do you think's going to get it? Who do you want to get it? Or is it going to happen at all and just get completely nixed and they'll have to split up the company? All right. Hopefully you guys are going to have a wonderful weekend. And I know I'm going to try and rest and not get sick here. And above always, happy investing.